Well, here we are. We're back on 1986 Mustang LX 5-liter project. I need a piece of metal to bend and replace piece on the car where the back of the floor pan welds to. So got this old fender here. The top looks good, but it's pretty rusty down through here. It was a fender I scored off another car. I needed one of these fiberglass fender spats that goes right here, ties into the front bumper. This car had one that was broken, so I got this fender and then the other side basically for the fender spats, but I need some metal, so what better place to get it than to harvest it from another car, you know, that's recycling. So yeah, I got the paint ground off from it. You want to try to remove the paint before you cut the piece of metal, because if you cut it and then you go to remove the paint, you'll make the edges of it thin, and then it'll be a lot harder to weld. But yeah, I'm going to take it out of the top of this fender right here, and we'll have to throw a 90-degree bend on it, and we need a piece to replace that back there, and then we're going to need a piece for up front there and a piece for that spot right there. So without further ado, we'll get after it. Got our piece of metal here. Need a 1-inch bend, and then the rest doesn't really matter because we'll have to flange it, trim it to weld it in. But the 1-inch bend is crucial. That'll go right over top of our floor pan. So I got that all marked out, and I'm going to use my bench here. We'll just clamp it down and bend it, and we'll go from there. Probably have a hard time hearing me over my coal stove. I'm standing right here next to my coal stove, but here's the piece that we harvested out of that fender and threw a bend on, and have to do some grinding and some trimming, but that will work just fine to replace the piece that goes along the back of the floor pan. And I'll have to use a air punch flange tool and put a flange right here in a couple spots for some rosette welds, and then when I get the car later on up where I've got access to a lift, and I'll get it up on the lift, and I can do some welding along the back and put some seam sealer. And if you really get down there and look, you'd notice that it's been done. But not building a show car, building a street car that's honestly just going to get the crap beat out of it. It'll be just fine for that, but I'll keep going along here and keep giving some updates as I go. But harvested the metal out of an old Ford Mustang fender. I mean, it's car's a 1986. The fender I cut the piece out of is a 1986, and you know, I don't know if the metal back then's any better than it is now, but you know, that's what we're using. Alright, well, I hope you can hear me. What we got going on here is this thing's called an air punch flange tool, and it will put a little flange on the metal so that when you butt it up against there, it'll stay flush, and then this side here will punch holes in it so you can spot weld it. So I traced out on the back side here, hopefully you can see it, traced out there about where I need it flanged. So I'll just run this down through there and give it a flange. The hardest part with this thing is knowing which way the flange is going to go. Which I think doing it that way is going to make it go backwards the way I want it. So here we go. Let's give it a shot. Yeah, that's the way we want it to go right there. Just just keep working this guy along the Sharpie line that I made. This tool just came from Harbor Freight. My dad got this years and years and years ago, and doesn't get a whole lot of use, but it's one of those things that when you need it, you need it. But as you can see, it puts this little bevel on there. You look right down the piece there, and you can kind of see the little bevel that it puts into the piece of metal. So the other piece of metal will slide in right there, and it'll be nice and flat. I'll touch a little bit up on this end. Make sure you go the right way. And there's that. It gives you a nice little flange. In the camera there, you can see the little flange right here that it gives you. There you go. Now you can see it. Yeah, it gives you that little flange, and then that other piece will just slide right in there, and then we'll mark out every inch or so, and we'll prop this up on you. We'll come in about a ½ inch, and we'll mark out every inch. We'll put a little rosette weld on it. Every inch might be overkill, but it's not going to hurt it any. You just have to go slow when you weld it, so you don't warp the sheet metal underneath. And this is going in the floor. I mean, if I was doing this in the middle of the hood or something, I'd probably use a little bit different method, but it'll be just fine. And then this other spot right here, this spot here, going to get welded to the floor, but I will wait because I might have to trim some of this off, so I'll wait before punching holes in that piece. That won't be any big deal when it's when it's in the car. But basically, you just line this up. and it gives you nice little holes so you can do some rosette welds. This is kind of a older way to do body work, you know, putting in patch panels and whatnot. I know a lot of, you know, butt welding, this is the preferred way to do it. But being that this is going to be on the bottom of the car, you're never going to see it. It'll add a little more structure to it. It's easier than doing a butt weld. And being that it's on the floor in the bottom of the car, I can seal it good from the top and the bottom. It'll be a good fix. I mean, if I was building a, you know, big fancy high dollar, you know, car to send to Barrett Jackson or something, I wouldn't do it this way. But it's an '86 Mustang, and you know, I'm building it for myself. I'm not building it for anybody else, and it'll be an acceptable repair. Be able to, like I say, put some seam sealer on the bottom and the top. I'm gonna lizard skin the whole floor of the car on the top side. Probably use the heat, more so the heat than the noise. I mean, it's got a, you know, it's a V8, and cut the exhaust off them and whatever to make them loud. So why would you know, worry about the car being a little loud inside? I'd rather have the heat insulation, if anything. And then the bottom side of the car, I'll probably just use some Raptor liner, get it up on the lift and spray with Raptor liner and some seam sealer, and, you know, a little sanding on the seam sealer, and get her sealed up. You'll never know this was done. It's considerably better than what was there. So I will continue messing around getting it fitted in the car, and I'll check back. Well, here we are. I got subframe, all the factory spot welds that you know, the part that the spot weld cutter leaves, I got them all ground down. I got the top of the rail all shined up. I'll hit that with some weld through primer, and I'll put some black paint, something down in there, just to, because I can. Got this piece cut and fitted. Used a couple self-tapping screws to just kind of hold it in place. I may have to do some adjusting once I get the floor pan in. I didn't show it on video, but I did stick the new floor pan in, and kind of got made a mark where it should be, to kind of go off of for that piece back there. But that piece isn't, you get the floor pan in where it's supposed to be, and then you can kind of adjust, you know, you can adjust this piece and the floor pan to where they need to be. It's not super critical. I mean, we're not building Swiss watches here or anything. So got that piece done. Got the inside of the rocker here ground down a little bit. Got a little bit more work to do. I had to beat the pinch weld back up in here. Let's see if I can get a little more light. Definitely got to work on my lighting here. There we go. Yeah, I had to beat the pinch weld back a little. I have to do a little heat, probably not heating, but do some beating on it. Hammer and dolly work to get it back. This spot here I messed up with the Sawzall. I have to fix that. Put a patch in there, and I still have to cut the piece for up there to patch it in. I used some rust mort. This stuff right, camera would focus on it. That stuff right there. Seems to work pretty good. It takes the rust from a, you know, regular rust red color, orange color, to a black, which I guess it deactivates the chemical reaction. I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but it seems to work. The only downfall I see to it is if you have the chance to buy some, see if you can get the gel stuff. This stuff here, it goes on, but it's just liquid, and it comes right off. So the gel stuff would actually stay on there better. But it seems to work pretty good. But I put it all down along there, that spot there. I started to hit it with the grinder, and it's going to be tough to get in there and get it ground down. So I figure if nothing else, rust mort will kill the rust, and then we'll be able to weld it back in. But yeah, I think I'll quit there for a while, and we'll pick it up again. I know I said I'd be welding in this video, but probably won't be. probably next video. But yep, so that's where we're at now with the 86 Mustang LX project. Another little thing go along with the body saw that I say is really handy. I gotta find it. Get yourself a little 90-degree. There we go. I found it. Get yourself a little 90-degree die grinder, air power die grinder. Get yourself the roll lock kit and get yourself some 2-inch flap discs for it. Oh man, they are great. I think I got these on Amazon, really dirt cheap. Buy a lot of them because they stop grinding after a while, sooner rather than later. But handy little tool right there. You can get into some spots, and then the flap discs are just great for blending metal back and forth. I'm not a fabricator, I'm not a body guy or anything, so this is all kind of new to me. So I'll just give a few points on what few pointers on what seems to work good for me. But anyways, that's where we're at, and we'll call her quits for today, and thanks for watching.